How can we be How can we be sure that what we know about the world we live in is true? How can we be sure the planets revolve around the sun? How can we be sure a particular dinosaur ate a particular diet? Do scientists simply take a guess and hope it's right, and hope everyone else just believes them? Of course not. Scientists use a very specific process to arrive at scientific truth. We call this the scientific method. The scientific method is a technique used to establish knowledge or modify existing knowledge. The scientific method allows scientists to formulate theories and then test them to determine whether those theories are correct or not. The scientific method involves several steps. The process begins with asking a question. The scientist would then conduct research and then propose a hypothesis, which is basically an educated guess answering the original question. Next, the scientist would test the hypothesis through experiments. After that, the scientist would analyze the results of the experiment and then form a conclusion. The conclusion might support the hypothesis, or it might show something entirely different. The scientific method can vary considerably depending on the field. For example, in the field of astronomy, the testing of the hypothesis might involve performing complex mathematical computations, while in the theory of botany, it might involve exposing a particular plant to a particular substance, or putting the plant under certain conditions. In any case, the basic structure of the scientific method remains the same. The scientific method, as we know it, didn't simply pop up overnight. It evolved into being. The ancient Greeks were keen students of science, and many Greek philosophers helped develop ways to arrive at scientific knowledge. Aristotle, an ancient Greek philosopher, in particular, helped devise formal ways to inquire about the universe. During the Middle Ages, Christian scholars called scholastics combined Christian teachings with Greek logic and came up with improved ways of ascertaining knowledge. The real breakthrough in the development of the scientific method, however, came from a man named Roger Bacon. Roger Bacon, 1214 to 1294, was an English philosopher. Bacon's contribution to the development of the scientific method stems from his emphasis on experimentation. Bacon suggested scientific truth could be found out through the cycle of observation, hypothesis, experimentation, and independent verification. Of course, there is more bacon, and not the yummy breakfast food. Francis Bacon, 1561 to 1626, was another English philosopher. He is sometimes known as the father of empiricism. What is empiricism, you may ask? Basically, it's the belief that knowledge comes from sensory experience. Francis Bacon stressed inductive reasoning, which involves reasoning through specific cases in order to reach broader conclusions. Another important figure in the development of the scientific method was RENE Descartes. Descartes, 1596 to 1650, was a French philosopher who has often been called the father of modern philosophy. Descartes was a rationalist, which means he believed that human reason was the chief source of knowledge, not sensory experience. Descartes is famous for his axiom, "I think, therefore I am." He published many important works, notably Rules for the Direction of the Mind and Discourse on Method. Remember, the scientific method evolved into being over hundreds, even thousands of years. It didn't just pop up overnight. The men we've mentioned, namely Aristotle, the Greek scholastics, Roger Bacon, Francis Bacon, and RENE Descartes, helped to formulate and perfect the scientific method. The scientific method helped allow science to explode throughout the scientific revolution. Today, the scientific method continues to provide the basis for establishing scientific knowledge. Now let's review the key terms in this lesson. The scientific method is a technique used to establish knowledge or modify existing knowledge. Aristotle was an ancient Greek philosopher who helped devise formal ways to inquire about the universe. A breakthrough occurred with Roger Bacon, an English philosopher. Roger Bacon emphasized experimentation. A few hundred years later, Francis Bacon, the father of empiricism, came along. Finally, René Descartes was a French philosopher who has often been called the father of modern philosophy. Descartes was a rationalist who believed reason was the source of knowledge.